Today, we will be talking about human and leadership and little bit of AI and also understanding how can we bridge them all together. And we have a guest. She is an expert in this field. She have received an award for her excellence in the field of diversity and inclusion. She is a strategic advisor, keynote speaker, author, and AI ethics advocate with a remarkable journey from law to human resource, DEI, and AI. She helps leaders to embrace challenge and change. She also helps them to unlock their human potential and confidently lead what's next. So, our guest today is Öykü Apí. Welcome, Öykü.
Thank you very much for the warm introduction, Ayesha. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
I have an intro, but this is very formal, but I want to know a little bit from your side because I know you went to different culture, you experienced and worked in different places. So how do you introduce yourself?
I had this conversation with a very close friend of mine very recently, actually, if you allow me to do so. Find me when they are in crossroads in their life. And the reason because is I put the facts in multiple angles into the table. So I help them to see whatever they are facing as a challenge, I help them to see from different angles. And also, I'm very honest while I'm doing it. I never judge people, but I'm very honest to show them the facts. So whenever they need an answer, although deep down they knew, but they want to hear from someone else, usually that's the point that they come and find me in their lives. And I think the main reason behind it, because I grew up with two parents, both Turkish, but one coming from the south, one coming from the north. And as every other country in the world, north and south of Turkey is two different polars. So that's why it gives me a natural ability to, I think, to read the room well. And without any judgments, etc., the truth can be different based on the storyteller. So I think this is briefly who I am and what I'm doing as of today.
I love that you mentioned about the storytelling and the truth behind who we are and what shaped us. So I would like you to give us a little bit of idea like how do you see the exposure to different culture can shape us over the time.
Look, I think it's a very important element. I am a traveler since very young age, despite the fact that I grow up with two different perspectives. Also, I travel a lot. And what I understand over time is what is relevant or what is true in South Africa can be different in Sydney, can be different in Turkey or somewhere else. And yet, all of them can be accurate at the same time. So this gives you a kind of tolerance or mental flexibility to be able to walk with the shoes of others. And I think it's a very critical skill set, especially as of today. And I know that we will be discussing about AI and the human potential. I think this is one of the strengths that we all need to gain in this era because it gives us an open mindset to see the different life events from different perspectives.
Absolutely. And there are so many disruption, I would say, like now we have AI disruption. Before we had so many interruption, disruption, internet, and then access to multicultural environment. Then we have to deal with people coming with a different expertise. So we have to face the different environment many times. And I was reading your LinkedIn and you said most people are not limited by their ability, they are limited by how they see themselves. And that's what you're saying. It's more about the way we see ourselves, right? And how do you see it's very important to see ourselves in a place where we can be our best version. How do you see the importance of us being able to see ourselves?
Look, I think it's very crucial, and unfortunately, it takes us many years to realize our full potential or own potential. Again, I think because this is the core thing, this is why I am keep going back to my childhood. But I grew up in a very small, in a way, isolated place, and since very young age, whenever I talk about my dreams or what I want to achieve in life, I'm very used to hear that, oh, but this is too much. You can't really do it. I'm very like, if I will not hear this, I will feel like not challenged enough in a way. So I'm very used to it. And every time, not to prove them, but to prove myself that this is doable. And whenever people say, oh, wow, this is very courageous, how did you come up with this idea or whatever? I tell them, courage is not something God given. Maybe there is like a piece of your character and your forming, etc. But courage is not something God given. Every time you attempt something, you achieve it. Then you find the courage or belief within you that, okay, if I did it, I can go one step more. So this is how you build your legacy in a way, or your character, or whatever you are doing in life. But sometimes it's not visible to us. That's why I love to trigger people that, okay, I see this in you, Ayesha. I think you can go and achieve it. And I really enjoy working with them to unlock this potential.
And you also wrote about that in your chapter called Forward. You said as if one day they woke up and turned a corner and everything changed. So the perception in through the lens of other people is as if we have suddenly came up with that idea, or we have suddenly arrived to the way they see successful stage of our life, because they just suddenly see us that we are doing something different. And then you mentioned it's not about the journey outside, it's more about the journey inside. And that's relate to your statement that you said is more about the way we see ourselves. I'm very glad, but I'm also very curious to understand if somebody is very much disrupted with other people's expectation, family has got expectation, the social society, the surroundings, they have expectation, they keep putting on the expectation on us that this is how we expect you to behave or do, to be as a part of our group. So how do you see that people can start looking for something they have more than that, how to start looking at that side?
I think one thing in general in life, what I consider is the trade-off always. The risk here is, and I read your chapter and I know that it will resonate with you as well. The risk here is you may wake up one day, look at your life and feel like a guest with your words in your own life, right? So this is the risk here. And I don't want to be in my 80s, look back and say, okay, I did everything on the paper perfectly for my parents, for the society, for my kids, for my family, but I cannot see Öykü in this story. This was since very beginning that I was trying to avoid. And how people can realize it's all about self-awareness, obviously. But instead of looking for answers, I would recommend to ask right questions. And one of my favorite questions in life, and although it sounds like a statement, I do believe that this is a question: I deserve better. I deserve better actually is a hidden question, because the moment you start asking for your job professionally, for your relationships, for your friendships, whatsoever, the moment you start to ask, I deserve better, then there should be either an action or a transformation or a little bit of change in your life, because you do believe that you deserve something better. I think this is a tip maybe, or a suggestion for the audience, whomever is listening, that they should look at their life honestly and ask this question if it's the ready life that they deserve or they deserve something better.
That's so beautiful. Are you settling down or you're looking for something more? So if you're settling down, then we don't have anything to say. But if you're looking for something more, then you have to change what you're doing now. You have to accept the change.
I always have an issue with settling down. I have a huge respect for the people who settle down and who are living in the same place for 30 years, etc. I have a huge respect and I admire them a lot. I was never this person until the age of 45, 46. Until very recently, I realized that doing the same thing, living in the same space really makes me happy. But it didn't come to me naturally. First, I need to go travel the world and do whatever I want to do. And then I come to this point that, okay, now I can settle. But I have a huge admiration for the people who find this out with a young age. But if not, also I have a huge admiration for the people who decided to make change.
Love it, not to settle down so easily and explore every single thing that you can and that you want to, not to stop yourself saying that, oh, that's good, that's enough. But then what is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of the new experiences? So fascinating. And I want to go back to the feeling side, the how do I feel when into a situation where we don't know where we're going. We try new thing, it doesn't work. It doesn't work all the time, but yeah, people see that it's working well because they only see the part which is working well, not the part where we had been struggling, failing, and learning and stepping to solid, like you said, the day when nothing feels solid enough to stand on, as if we are skating on an endless ice surface. The moment when hope is not inspiring but exhausting. The hidden tears that are never mentioned or become a part of the success story because they are not impressive. The small steps that feel almost invisible at the time but change everything later. The time when you lie awake and realize that no one is coming to save you, that whatever happens next, you will only depend on yourself, on stand up again. So that last line, like no one is coming to save you, and whatever happens next, you are the only person who will be taking the responsibility and you have to depend on yourself. This is a very hard place to stay. And we are human. We always have a tendency to belong. I know you work in the space of connection, diversity, inclusion, belongingness. Now, how do you explain that feeling and how do you suggest to embrace that feeling?
Look, you very rightly pointed out, we all want to belong. This is a very basic human needs. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we are always welcomed or fit in to the places that we are in. It could be a relationship, it could be a job, it could be something else. But sometimes, if not all the time, you need to earn the place. And if you are in the wrong place, you need to be courageous enough to walk away. This is how I see things. For that, I think it requires independence internally. Again, I will go back to your chapter because I was reading your chapter before our discussion or conversation with you, and you beautifully define it, finding the home within you. I think this is very important. So if you are true to yourself, your values, what you want to achieve in life, you are somehow connected or belong to yourself first. And then it becomes much more easier wherever you are going next to find your place in the table and make it yours. So this requires to own your story, own your place, but still stay true who you are. It's a very tough place. I'm not saying this becomes very easily or naturally, and you need to fight a lot to earn this place. But when you become this independent or this level of independence, there are a few things that can stop you in life, if there is.
So good, so good. You started from building the self awareness, then developing the self independence inside. It's not going out and showing everybody, oh, I have this much of financial freedom. That's why I'm independent. It's not about that tangible thing that will speak for my independence. It's more having a psychologically, emotionally, feeling safe within ourselves and having the independence feeling inside of us. We're not looking for anybody's validation. Whether it fails, I own it. If it works, then I work. I'm also taking the responsibility of that. And I know that's not easy, but it's good to know that this is where you can feel the complete human being who can give back to other people that you want to serve with your fullness, like with your whole heart potential. And I was looking at your story, remember when you lost the access to of your passport and like you were saying, this is my biggest fear in the life has never been facing challenges or making changes. It's been always staying without options. And I'm like, I took a pause. I took a pause to absorb that word. And then you continued saying, because as long as you have an option, even a bad one, you still have a way through. When you have no options, the ground disappear under your feet. And I want you to relate to this situation because the option is very sometimes weird, like you also mentioned, even the bad ones. So we often hold on to our bad option for so long, and we don't realize it can be a bad relationship, it can be a work that we are doing that we do not want to, it can be something that we do not want to do, right? But we hold on to that because we feel like we are stuck and we feel like this is the only option. I don't see any other option. And if I lose it, there will be nothing on my hand. But you don't know that it's actually hurting you more, costing you more. It's giving you the liability of you losing yourself rather rising you.
I think we discussed a couple of minutes ago about the trade-offs. There's always a cost for everything in life. I wish things come easily, but there's always a cost, right? And sometimes the cost of staying in the wrong place, wrong relationship is higher than we thought. Okay, we will leave, we will let go, and it's a painful process. I accept the fact that it's painful, it's not easy. But yet, sometime later, the dust will settle and you will feel more powerful that you took this decision at that point instead of staying for something that doesn't make you happy. Usually what happens is, Ayesha, I'm not sure if you agree, but we outgrow from family issues whatsoever or from careers sometimes. And when you look outside, everything seems very polished, very perfect, and people around you say things like, are you crazy? Why are you living it? Like, why are you letting it go? But internally, you knew that you outgrow and there's a price every day you are paying to stay in. So in these circumstances, I'm not someone who will accept the fact, again, it's about the settling, etc. But I'm not someone to accept the fact, stay there. And no, I will always look for my options, even for bad options, not to stay within these bad options, but to use them to move forward.
That's the stepping ground, and we
Yeah.
keep growing. And I love the word you used here, like we are outgrowing, and that's the nature. If you are a person who are investing time and energy and self development, having self awareness, like you said, and working on themselves, then you definitely will outgrow from the environment that you belong. And that at some point you will feel like, oh, it's not enough for me, I'm not settling down here, I need to go to the next level.
I
um,
deserve better. I
I
deserve
I
better.
deserve better. Yeah, I deserve better. So tell me, like, how did you see your time evolved over the time, and how do you see your future version from now?
I love this question. So the thing is, because I'm so passionate about change and I have this natural curiosity about everything around me, I have a huge potential to transform the things in my life. So sometimes what happens is people around me cannot cope with my speed of change. So I think for now, I am about to start my third professional chapter because I studied law and I was a lawyer for a long time. Then I shifted to HR and I recently become an entrepreneur. So I'm very excited what the future holds me. This is what keeps me going. And I always carry all these questions with me since beginning that we discussed, like I deserve better, self-awareness, and a lot of to make this happen. But I think when I look at future, I feel more excitement and the opportunities ahead of me.
When we look at something and we don't know what's coming next, told us it's about in the process of change, but I'm not sure what exactly that'll look like. How would I see myself, what I'll be doing, what kind of earning or other things will be happening around me? We don't know. So how do you navigate that time from moving from this place to this place?
I think what differentiates the people whom I consider successful in life, they have the same vision like all of us for the future, for what they want to achieve, for where do they see themselves in 5 years time, 10 years time, etc. But the difference is they have this vision, they passionately believe in this vision, and they make it happening. Instead of staying same and creating excuses whatsoever, they go and make it. So I think what I can advise from my humble experience and livings, etc., don't accept where you are. Because there is always a risk of when you go back. I don't want anyone, including myself, to say, I regret the fact that I didn't act at that point. I know I can do better and I didn't do. So it's not, we have, okay, it sounds a bit cliche, but we have only one life at the end of the day, and we don't know how much time we have in this life. I think in terms of the legacy that we want to leave for our kids, for the people that cares about us, I think this is what they want them to tell about me.
So what do you want people to tell about you?
She was a doer. She was a doer, whatever she thinks, she dreams, or she wants to achieve in life.
Wow. It's very hard to find the doers. Most of the time, we are thinkers.
We are thinkers, we are dreamers. Sometimes we love to be victim and stay same, and we are waiting for someone who will never come to save us from the, things. I don't know if you, any point in life, we all come to this stage, but I don't know if you ever feel like you are in the waiting room of your real life and your real life is about to start, but you are not there, you are not very ready, you are not very sure, etc. I think most of the people spend very long years in that waiting room, unimaginary waiting room.
Such a beautiful metaphor. I'm so glad that you mentioned the word waiting room. And it happens so many ways. You keep bleeding, staying in the waiting room, but you just do not knock the door, right? It's all about you taking one step and you just stay there for so long and keep bleeding with yourself. That's such a hard place. But you, as a human, we are programmed by the way other people see us, by the way they tell us, by the way the word they tell to us, and the way they expect us to behave. So we are so programmed listening to outside noise rather listening to our inside voice.
I want to make another reference from your chapter because I loved it. I think people needs to make it like a slogan everywhere. Decision first, design later. Decisions first, design later. I love it because like when you have the decision, for whatever reason, when you have the decision, by the time that you make the decision, it's not your job. First, you make the decision and then you design it later. This is why I always keep reminding myself that you will figure it out. Just make the decision, start from whatever you have and whatever, and then you will figure it out. I think most of the people, when we talk about waiting rooms, etc., they are spending most of time until the moment that they will make the actual decisions because they are not ready, they have excuses, they have problems whatsoever. We all have been there. But I love the motto of decision first, design later, because it gives you the flexibility or freedom to play it around and a little bit of flexibility also.
And it goes with your thought. You just need to do and expect what you want to do. You're not settling down. You just need to expect of yourself. Do not expect other people to validate your expectation. Just you have to force yourself to expect being a better version of yourself, doing a better
Yeah.
thing of yourself. I love that. So many connection of the analogies. And I want to take you to the another level of the conversation. Now, we know about the curiosity, we know about having the courage, we know going through different changes. It's not easy. It's all about the journey of self-learning, outgrowing, and accepting that there will be changes, not to settle down, rather to explore and do something differently. Now, in these phases, the AI is now interrupting, but we are also human. So, when we go through a lot of change and transformation, you talk about the human potential, unlocking them, and confidently facing the fear, like confidently accepting the new challenges, new chapters, new phase of life. And that's all about the change. So, how do you see AI and change in terms of human behavior? Do you see it's a more supportive? If so, why and how? Or if not supportive, then in which way?
So when you look at neuroscience, and I know that you love talking about this, our brains wired to keep us safe. And for that safety, it needs to avoid the risks. It needs to avoid any unfamiliar situations. That's how we are designed. Okay. And now we, as these creatures who love familiar situations, etc., we are watching kind of a table tennis game with the AI and everything, because everything changes from one day to another, even quicker than 24 hours sometimes. And our attention span is going down and down because we used to stories, not even post now. So everything is changing very quickly. And we are struggling because this is not how we design to handle things. So that's why I think we are more and more talking about the new concepts such as mental agility. And the psychology becomes more and more important because we need to manage here very
Mhm.
professionally or very nicely so we will not burn out. Because otherwise, our normal reaction as human beings naturally is I don't want to hear anything about AI. I don't want to change anything. However, I was doing my things, my job for last 10, 20 years. I want to continue as is because this is how we know as a narrative. And now it's time to change that narrative because it will no longer serve us with the fast-pacing, changing era of AI. I think one of my favorite things that I love is it's time to unlearn what we learned so far. Because otherwise, if we are stubborn or we are like a very fixed mentality, we will not able to adapt and adjust the new reality that we are in right now.
So true. And if without unlearning, the relearning will be always interrupted because we didn't unlearn first. And
Yeah.
I want to connect with another question to this thought because is there is anything that you want to rewrite in terms of the narrative, especially for women and their leadership spaces?
Look, I think in combination with the AI, and I'm very passionate about AI ethics because of my legal background, basically, is one thing that we need to be alarmed or aware of, not alarmed, but aware of is at the end of the day, everything we are talking about in the AI world is the codes. And those codes have been generated by human. Human is equal to biases. So whomever is generating the codes, they may have actually not may they have the biases, their perspectives, their cultural norms, traditions, and learnings. So I think this is one thing that we need to be very aware of because there is a new generation coming out who knows that the only source of information is either AI or internet or whatsoever. And this is a huge because it's not guaranteed that it will give you the right answers. So that's why it's very important to keep our critical thinking and connecting the dots as human beings and not leave the decision completely to a non-human machine. So I think this is very critical. However, because it's easy, I see a lot of people nowadays just voice recording and checking the answers with AI, etc. For simple stuff, I admit the fact that it makes life very convenient, very easy. I'm a big fan of technology also, and whatever I will do is the part of technology as well. But also, I think we need to keep a fair balance between how we use the things.
And that's so important, or what we would say, the way we feed the information to AI, it tries to stay biased with our way of thinking. Like when we rely on AI to make a decision, I think that will be the most big mistake, like depending on AI to make our decision without having your human judgment. The critical thinking, also emotional intelligence may come in the same space. So I would ask you, do you see to start using AI in an ethical manner? Do you see it self-awareness might be the starting point, or what will be the starting point to apply ethical use of AI?
I think definitely self-awareness, like everything else, is very crucial, right? And also we need to ask ourselves if we will do it as human beings, whatever we are asking. And if deep down our gut feeling says no, I think the answer is no, even though all the AIs in the world says yes. I think there is this critical point. However, I think also as countries, societies, as thought leaders, also we have a responsibility because unfortunately, and I'm saying this as an ex-lawyer also, unfortunately, the laws or legal systems cannot follow easily all the technology, right? So they are like coming with a little bit of delay, if not years of delay. So I think it's very crucial for the thought leaders who are advocating for this to own the process and shows us all the perspectives, all different perspectives. Okay, AI is useful for XYZ, but those are the risks. And we should be open to talk about the risks and create mechanisms to avoid it. Otherwise, what we will end up with most probably is the same color everywhere. And we will use the beautifulness of the rainbows, etc. All individuals can bring to the table like different colors. This is the beautifulness or uniqueness of the diversity, etc. But if we lose our colors as human beings, then there's only one perspective, one thing that everybody wants, etc. And we started to see it, unfortunately, in some social media platforms. If you realize, everybody started to define themselves as the same way. All of the posts out of sudden started to feel and sound same. No, actually, there is something beautiful that called diversity of thoughts, and we shouldn't be losing it.
That's so beautiful. And I think we can link with that, like a human side and AI. How do you see the automation impacting the human factor in the workplace, in leadership, in practices? And how would you have a boundary, ethical boundary of using AI and also enabling our human side and, having a balance between automation and human centric behavior?
Look, I know that it's a big concern for many people that their jobs will be replaced by AI. But what I do believe personally, I think your job will not be replaced by an AI, but with someone who use AI better than yourself. I think this is what will happen. It's not about all the jobs will go completely, but they will transform. Like they transformed when they invented the calculators, when they invented the fax machines. It's a natural course of things. But what I see for the leaders, especially, it's becoming more and more important how to stay human in an AI era. Because some of the skill sets that we are bringing to the table as humans, like being super empathetic, like critical judgment, like the justifications, etc., it will take years for AI to learn. We are very complex beings by design. We are not very predictable most of the time. That's why I mentioned about the diversity of thoughts. This is what makes us human. And I think we need to own and we need to excel from this point about being an excellent human so none of the machines can replace us. I think this is going forward in the leadership classes or in the books. That's what we will start teaching people for the next generations.
That's so true. It's not about the people who will be replaced by AI. It's more about the people who learn how to use AI more effectively will be
Yeah.
replaced by who could not. It's better to adapt, better to accept change, like accepting change, facing the transformation, and being able to adapt as soon as possible. Coming back to one of the quote that you have added, and I also love someone like Maya, and she said, "You are only free when you realize you belong no place. You belong every place and no place at all." So, this is such a beautiful way to see ourselves not being attached with anything, not even the AI or what's happening in the environment with the person who we play a role in our family or in our workplace. So we are something beyond that. We are something outside of that. And that philosophy, and how do you bring the transformation when we understand that philosophy?
Look, for the people who didn't read the chapter, I just want to summarize very quickly that because this is how I'm seeing belonging also. Like I'm starting my chapter with a story of my grandmother who lived 100 years before me, and it ends up somewhere with my generation, basically. So it's a 5 generation story in a way. And this is how I look at the belonging. So we belong our ancestors. The story started before us. We are just carrying or responsible of our chapter in a best possible way. And then we will give the flag to the next generation. This is our responsibility, basically, whatever we are doing in the lifetime that has been granted to us. So with everything changing around us, I think denial is not serving, right? So we need to accept where we are. Some things around us is changing and we are obliged to do whatever we can do with this change, how we can excel from that point, how we can create a new narrative that our next generations will say, ah, luckily she did it, so I'm here today. So I think it's the continuation of the stories, and this is how we connected and belong to something bigger and longer than us. Because otherwise, when you look at it, let's say on average we have 70, 80 years of lifetime, it's a limited time. But when you look at from this angle, it's a story, it's a continuation of the not only a family, but it's the continuation of your legacy in a way.
And also, I would like to add, like your previous thought, like it's also evolving over the time.
Yes.
It's not holding on the past generation, what they had been doing. It's also carrying that flag and then evolving from there, expanding, giving more wider option to the next generation through your experience, through your lens of seeing the world.
Exactly. And hopefully all of the generations that are coming after are like putting something extra to the journey, something more beautiful, something much smarter. This is how we evolve, I think, as our story.
Excellent. And I want to come back to your book and the last paragraph. I want to read a couple of lines from there. And you said, when I'm writing at this moment, what I'm finding myself thinking, a couple of questions like, where would this lead us if we truly knew our story were interconnected with our past and future? What would we begin to do differently? What choice would we make? What path would we dare to tread from now so that we can make our next chapter the best? Would it make us more responsible, more determined, or more courageous? Would we still accept the course of life we lived, given, and would it be more willing to change it? So many questions. Like, I wish I could ask all these questions. Like, I kept wishing, like, at least 10 years before or 20 years before. These are so deep level of question. And again, coming back to me, like, it's more like I'm not sitting down. It's not enough for me.
You deserve better.
You deserve better. Yeah, I wanted to hear that from you. Like you said, like you deserve better. Somebody should say this to other people, like you deserve better. So coming to one point, like if the real challenge is not where we are, you said this, but whether we can see where we could truly go, then let me ask you, what's the one possibility you believe people consistently fail to see in them?
They don't believe they can achieve, even before starting or attempting to do anything. At the very early stage, they are very convinced that they are not the one. And usually they have a tendency to believe that, okay, if she achieved, maybe she is privileged, maybe she is rich, maybe she's coming from a wealthy family, maybe she has been educated with good schools. They created all the scenarios in their head, even before the decision points, although maybe they are the only one who can bring that change to the world. I think we are missing a lot of innovations, a lot of good ideas, just because people don't believe themselves enough, or they don't believe that they are worthy enough to make any change.
And I feel like you did connect back to your previous statement saying when we start having the self-awareness, that will push us to see the self-worth so that we can start believing that yes, we can be the lead and we can make the change.
I think when you have the independence within you that we discussed at the beginning of the conversation, you stop validating yourself with others' views. You create this freedom within you. So you don't need any justification. You stop negotiating your worth. You know you are worthy, regardless of your title, regardless of your marital status, regardless of whatever stops you in life. You know, as just as a human being, as the way that we born, we are worthy. Worthy to love, worthy to achieve whatever we want to achieve in this life.
And absolutely. And I'm like, I was going back to my different phases of life and thinking there are many points I had to ask myself, is it really true? I'm coming from a different country. I'm not even born in Australia. Who cares? Like, why do they bother about me? Who am I? So, all these questions I had been asking for so long, and that stopped me not doing anything, not being visible in doing my work outside. So I had been behind the screen for so long, and I can relate to that. I was more comfortable outside of the focus point rather in the background, the backstage.
I think if I may share, I want people who are listening to this conversation is to imagine a very big puzzle. All of us are representing a very valuable puzzle piece in that big picture. And this belongs to only us. Only our shape can fit to specific era that's dedicated to us. Nobody else can replace or can fake our place. So I think this is why it's very important to own our voice and own where we belong to. Because otherwise the puzzle can be ruined if one of us will not fit to the place that we're supposed to fit, right? You know the hassle when you lost the one piece of the puzzle, then it's gone. So I think that I want them to own who they are and own their voice, because this is the only way to create a full picture with all of us in.
I think that's how the expert of DEI would talk like this. This is such a beautiful metaphor. You are the small puzzle and the world need you. So I have very direct few questions now. First question is, what is leadership to you?
Leadership is leading without waiting any titles or permissions for me.
And the next question is, what does rising mean to you?
Rising means falling, but not stay too long in a falling pace, and then find the courage within you to jump again.
Oh, wow. You accept the falling first and then you're rising from there. That's how embracing the change and face it without fear.
I think I love surfing, and one thing that I learned from surfing is like when the wave go down, it's when you get the biggest wave. So there is nothing without fail, there is nothing to rise, etc. I think it's not very realistic. So this is where how I am seeing things.
So the next question is relating to my message, where we believe leadership is a alignment between brain, heart, and nerve. So now I want to ask you, like, how do you see the alignment of brain, heart, and nerve?
I think it's being in sync, it's being in harmony. When all those three agreed on something, I think you are becoming unlimited and unstoppable because they are aligned. You become very dangerous in a positive way because you can do whatever you want to do. It's very important, and they are coming to a sync very difficultly. I know it requires a lot of inner work to make them working in sync and in collaboration. But I think this is the beauty. Once you learn how to make them sync, and then you become unstoppable.
Excellent. So I think we will be unstoppable if we continue the conversation here. And so many fascinating topic you bring together, like AI transformation, facing the fear, using it ethically. It's so important these days. And understanding your self-worth is the biggest asset that you can bring back to the world. I would say when we stop ourselves, like when you hold ourselves or when you are stuck, then what will be your one statement that you want everybody to remind? It can be writing somewhere and look at that and reminding that this is not where I'll stay for long. My waiting room should not for a long period of time. I should stay out of my waiting room and start doing something. What could be one statement that you give us so that we can write it down and remember that this is where I need to step up and start rising?
It's not mine, but I will give a quote, one of my favorite quotes from Marcus Aurelius. What stands in the way becomes the way.
What stands in the way becomes the way. So if you see something which is standing in your way, that is the reason why you have to become the way. And today I'm very inspired and I felt the depth of her knowledge, her wisdom in terms of the curiosity, the courage, human centric innovation that's shaping the future leadership within us, and that always starts from within. And we'll continue the conversation in this platform. We also encourage you to join in our platform and explore more thoughts and understand that we can align our brain, heart, and nerve and become a better version of us to give back in the world. Thank you so much for joining today's conversation. And I will encourage you to share if there is any place where you want the audience to connect with you.
Sure. They can find me. I think the easiest way is LinkedIn or Instagram, which is like Öykü.Apí. So they can find me easily because I have a very difficult, unique name. So I don't think there's any other Öykü Apí in the world. So they can reach out anytime.
Thank you so much. I will also add her LinkedIn profile with the post. So I'll see you in our next conversation next time. Until then, thank you.